Hi, and welcome to another exciting pirate news with your quartermaster, me, this guy, Joe. With me tonight, I have Jamie and I have Steve, both wonderful individuals. Gentlemen, how are you doing this evening?
Excellent.
Doing all right.
So we got some hot topics in the news. Apparently, we're taking on China spy balloons and aliens. Gentlemen, can you tell me a little bit?
99 red flag balloons.
Good old Nina Hagen.
Yeah.
What's going on with all the near space stuff from China, or like what are these? Why have we shot down so many recently?
I mean, the big one was China had a small airliner with sensors attached to a very, very big balloon that floated over that floated over, I think, Alaska, down through Canada, through the United States, and finally emerged on the southern eastern United States, where it was promptly shot down by the U.S.'s third stealth jet, the F-22, or stealth, yeah, combat aircraft. And since then, apparently, there have been additional balloons, UFOs, who knows? I think they appeared in Alaska. Trudeau asked us to shoot one down that was in Canada. And I just heard there was another one that was over one of the Great Lakes.
Yeah, like Huron.
And apparently this stuff happened during the Trump administration as well, where there were balloons that went over Hawaii, and they only found out about it, I don't know, maybe they had signals intelligence or something like that. And after the fact, they figured out, oh, wait, the Chinese put balloons over our country.
Yeah, I mean the like this whole near space area is kind of interesting. So it's the area sort of between 12 and 60 miles above the Earth's surface. So it's below where satellites fly, but above where, most of your air traffic goes. And, China has been, sort of, balloons are an old technology, but I guess they're getting a little bit of a revival. And, it sounds like a fairly useful kind of thing. I mean, sure you can take pictures from them and, at a closer distance than a satellite, but they're also useful for things like early warning, environmental monitoring, weather monitoring. Unlike satellites, a balloon can hover over an area for an extended period of time. You could use them to establish wireless networks and that sort of thing. Yeah, I guess according to, I believe it was CNN, and we'll try to include the article in the description. I guess this has made the Department of Defense realize that they've had sort of a knowledge gap or an awareness gap. It's saying that there were three other, during the prior administration, they believe, three other Chinese balloons that, traveled all the way across the continental United States. But yeah, this is, I think, to a certain extent, the usual hemming and hawing.
Oh no, the balloon gap.
Yeah, and I mean,
channel George C. Scott,
the fact
Dr. Strangelove.
The fact that, one country will be conducting surveillance operations on another, I mean, I personally find this unsurprising. Uh, countries spy on each other. We know this.
Actually, didn't we learn spying from the British and the Germans?
I have no idea.
Pretty sure they have documentaries
pretty
about
old, but yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it's older, but America was kind of late to the game. Just saying.
Well,
Go ahead, Steve.
no, I was going to say, as long as as long as you have the notion of, a country and you worry about what other countries are doing, you're going to have spies. I think the idea is, or I suspect the profession is as old as government itself.
So one thing I will point out, according to the War Zone, they shot down the UFOs slash balloons with a AIM-9X Sidewinder missile, which has a cost of $472,000 per missile. So not cheap.
I suspect the balloon itself wasn't cheap either.
Hopefully cheaper.
Right, but we didn't pay for the balloon.
Point taken.
And in other terrible news done by governments, I guess we lost a train.
That wasn't done by governments.
The lack of regulation and all the
Yes.
safety cuts were.
Fair enough. Yeah, in Ohio, a train derailed, and there were several tanks filled with vinyl chloride, which is, flammable, toxic, and is a brain, lung, blood, and liver carcinogen. And so they were concerned that it was going to they were concerned that the tanks would explode, so they drained the tanks into a big hole they dug and then set it on fire, whereupon it created a massive mushroom cloud and sent vinyl chloride into the air.
Yeah, there's dead fish and frogs and everything else. People's cats and animals have died. I think the evacuation was supposed originally 1 mile, and it should have been 10 miles. Just a complete and utter catastrophe.
Not only that, but apparently I think the the train company was basically like, here's $25,000. Like it's like $5 a person as compensation. So there'll be some nice suits going out of that. The unions have been trying to, the trains are too long, they go too fast, they don't have enough people on them. And so the unions have been trying to fight that, but, corporations want to make sure they have mega profits. And, Buttigieg isn't pushing back on that. So, that's what's going to happen. If you let the corporations take an inch, they'll take a mile.
Don't they receive subsidies and everything as well?
No idea.
I'm not sure. I know one of the problems. So there's a law that originally said if you have, say, you have to get your cargo from point A to point B, and the last 50 miles of the trip to point B is done by one rail company, then they can charge you an exorbitant fee for that last 50 miles, but the rest of the trip that's competitive, well, that has to have a lower price. And so these self-samed corporations just changed a bunch of words, and now if they pay, they have to pay the exorbitant price for the entire trip. So in essence, there's no monetary competition going on. It's just monopoly profits for these companies, and they want to make sure that their labor costs are as cheap as possible. So corporations are letting them, government is letting them do this. They could change the laws or the regulations to actually have competition. They could break up some of these companies to say that, no, you can't have massive networks of railways. You have to break them up so there's some competition. But, They don't.
Speaking of failures going on in the world right now, there's the whole debacle with Turkey and Syria. Um, don't really want to get into it tonight because I feel like we're competing against the Super Bowl. However, if we could just take a moment of silence for all the victims who tragically lost their lives in that. Thank you. You know, I really, my heart goes out to all the families, and I am grateful that the world has come together in order to try and support Turkey and Syria and all those who lost their lives. It, um, but the real crux of it is we're so quick to say whose fault it is, but I want to just say that this earthquake was bigger than anything we've even experienced in America, and the California earthquake that killed so many. This is probably one of the biggest earthquakes in recent history. And granted, we might have just come through and gotten some major breakthroughs. We finally are starting to understand Roman concrete and be able to build better concrete. It doesn't mean that we've had that uniform structure so far. And as quick as we might be to blame whose fault it is or what went wrong, um, I don't think anyone could have seen an earthquake of this magnitude happening. Um, Certainly not anyone. And I, again, I just want to say that let's come together and help those in need instead of trying to throw blame so quickly. I'm not saying that we should forgive those who have had faults, but at the same time, you know, it's we should be coming together to help those instead of being decisive and saying whose fault it is. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts on
My understanding is that not a lot of aid is getting to the northern parts of Syria that are not controlled by the government. And a large number of people have died in that area, and buildings have been similarly devastated to what happened in Turkey. And it's important that the United States make sure that the aid that we send is not limited just to Turkey, but also reaches folks in northern Syria who also need help.
that? I 100% agree with that. You know, it's a humanitarian crisis. We should be helping all people, not just people who agree with us politically. Steve, any thoughts?
Um, Nothing. I know that there was an earthquake. I have not been following it closely.
Well, thank you both for that, but um, that's all we have for this evening. Hate to leave it on such a somber note, but oh wait,
Hey,
Jamie has more.
there's a link in the description. Our winter conference is coming up next Saturday, noon to 2. If you're interested in helping build the Pirate Party in Massachusetts, if you're interested in the Pirate Party, please do join us. Some of the topics we're going to be discussing are how we can help our trans fellow citizens and residents in the United States to fight back against the demonization and awful, awful laws that have been promulgated throughout the United States that would take away the rights of folks to live their lives as they want to do, which we would think everybody would support that. And additionally, we're going to be talking about, that chestnut, the Second Amendment, and perhaps what a pirate policy should be. And it's election season, so we'll be talking about running candidates, helping to train candidates, and build pirate locals.
And with that, definitely like, share, and subscribe this video, especially if you enjoy the content. Sign up for our newsletter. And generally, if you want to change the world, don't sit back. Come and help us change. Thank you.
Bye.